Okay, let's jump right in. When you think Olympic Games, you probably picture these huge modern stadiums, right? Global television coverage.
Absolutely. But we're going way, way back, almost 3,000 years to the ancient Olympic
And
Games.
this was so much more than just a sports competition. It was probably the most important religious and cultural event in the entire Greek world.
It really was, and we can pinpoint the start date pretty well, 776 BC.
776 BC in Olympia, Greece.
Exactly, and they were held every 4 years. That 4-year period was so important, they even named it the Olympiad.
Right, the Olympiad. And that became their calendar. They would literally say something happened in the third year of the 27th Olympiad.
It's how they marked time. And it all started, to honor the king of the gods, Zeus.
The whole festival was for him. Legend even says the hero Hercules founded the games right after he completed his 12 famous labors.
Yeah, which just shows you how piety and competition were woven together from day one.
So let's talk about the location, Olympia, because it wasn't a city in the way we'd think of one.
No, not at all. It was a dedicated religious sanctuary in a region called the Peloponnese. It was all temples and altars and athletic facilities.
So nobody really lived there.
Only priests and temple staff for the most part, but when the games were on, the place would just explode.
And just imagine, tens of thousands of people flooding in, athletes, spectators, merchants, all camping out in the fields. It must have been just chaotic.
Total chaos. And the landscape was dominated by this religious architecture. The main centerpiece was the huge Temple of Zeus.
And inside was one of the seven wonders of the ancient world.
The statue of Zeus, 40 feet tall, made entirely of gold and ivory. But the stadium itself, it was actually really simple.
Just a dirt track, basically.
Yeah, a rectangular dirt track with grassy slopes for people to sit on. No stone seats, nothing fancy.
Okay, so with this massive religious event, getting there safely was a huge deal. Which brings us to the Olympic truce.
The Ekateria. It was incredible. Before every single games, messengers called spondophori would travel all over the Greek world to announce this sacred truce.
And this wasn't just a suggestion.
No, it was mandatory. It meant every Greek city-state had to stop all fighting. 4 months.
The main goal was just safe passage, right?
Yeah.
For athletes and for all those thousands of spectators.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. People were traveling for weeks, sometimes through enemy territory.
So what happened if a city-state broke the truce?
The punishment was severe. You'd get hit with a massive fine, and your entire team would be banned from competing.
Wow.
Yeah. It showed that, for a little while at least, the religious authority of Olympia was more powerful than any political rivalry.
Okay, so once you got there safely, who was actually allowed to compete? The rules were pretty strict.
Very strict. You had to be a free man, a citizen of a Greek city-state, and you had to speak Greek.
So no foreigners, no slaves.
Correct. They were completely excluded from the main competition.
And what about women? This part is always so interesting.
Well, women were generally banned. Not just from competing, but from even watching the men's events.
And the penalty for a married woman getting caught watching was, well, it was incredibly harsh.
It was. But that doesn't mean women weren't athletes. Unmarried girls had their own separate festival.
The Heraean Games.
Exactly. Dedicated to the goddess Hera, also held at Olympia, but at a different time. They competed in foot races, mostly. It was a whole parallel athletic world.
And for the men who were eligible, you couldn't just show up and sign up.
Oh, no. The training commitment was immense. You had to prove you'd already trained for 10 months back in your home city.
And then,
Then you had to show up at Olympia a full month early.
a month before the festival even started.
Yep. And for that whole month, you trained under the direct supervision of the judges. They were making sure you were serious.
And then there's the most famous detail of all. They competed without any clothes on.
Right. And this was a really powerful cultural statement for the Greeks. It was about showing off physical strength, agility, the perfection of the male body. It was a display of excellence, or arete.
So the festival itself, it was a 5-day event, and it didn't even start with sports.
No, it started with religion. The very first day, all the athletes and judges gathered in front of a statue of Zeus and took a sacred oath.
They swore to follow the rules, compete with honor, all of that.
Exactly. The judges, who wore these special purple robes to show their authority, also swore to be fair. It set the tone for everything.
And once that was done, the competitions began, starting with the oldest event, the running races.
The most important one was the stade. That was a short sprint, about 210 yards, basically the length of the stadium. Winning that was the biggest honor.
Then you had the Dialos, which was just 2 lengths of the stadium.
And the Delichos, the long-distance race. That was an incredible endurance test, up to 24 laps around the track.
But my favorite is the Hoplitodromos, the race in full armor.
Oh, yeah. That was a direct military test. You'd run 2 lengths of the stadium wearing heavy bronze armor and carrying a huge shield.
So you're talking maybe 50 pounds of extra weight. It was literally practice for charging into battle.
It was. And speaking of battle, that brings us to the combat sports.
Which were pretty brutal. Let's start with wrestling.
In wrestling, the goal was to throw your opponent to the ground 3 times, so they landed on their back or shoulders.
But the key detail here, no weight classes.
None whatsoever. So a guy who's 150 pounds could be up against someone who's 250. You had to rely purely on technique and leverage.
Then there was boxing. And you could forget padded gloves.
Yeah, they just wrapped their hands in hard leather straps. Sometimes they were stiffened or weighted, which actually made them more dangerous, not less.
And no rounds. The fight just went on and on until someone was either knocked out
or raised a finger to admit defeat. It could last for hours under that hot Greek sun.
Okay, but the one everyone talks about is the pancration.
The pancration. It was basically ancient mixed martial arts, a combination of boxing and wrestling.
And almost anything was allowed.
Pretty much. The only things you couldn't do were bite or gouge someone's eyes out, but tripping, choking, breaking limbs, all fair game.
It was really designed to prepare men for battlefield combat.
It was. But the Greeks didn't just value specialists. They really admired the all-around athlete, which is where the pentathlon comes in.
Right, the contest of 5 events. This was seen as the true test of the most versatile athlete.
The 5 events were the long jump, the discus throw, the javelin throw, the stade race, and wrestling.
You had to be good at everything.
Exactly. And some of the techniques were fascinating. Like in the long jump, they used these stone or lead weights called halters.
And they'd swing them to get more momentum.
Yeah, to propel themselves further. It's kind of like using dumbbells to launch yourself forward.
And the discus was a heavy bronze plate. The javelin had a leather strap to make it spin for better accuracy. You really did have to be a complete athlete to win.
You did. And then we move out of the stadium and over to the hippodrome for the equestrian events.
Which were on another level of danger and wealth. Chariot racing was the main event.
A huge spectacle. 4-horse chariots racing 12 laps. The chariots were flimsy, the track was crowded, and crashes were incredibly common.
Probably the deadliest event in the whole games.
Very likely. But here is maybe the most surprising fact about the ancient games. The prize, the olive wreath, didn't go to the driver.
Wait, not the guy risking his life in the chariot?
No, it was awarded to the owner of the horses.
So a rich king could win an Olympic title without ever setting foot on the track.
Precisely. It shows that even in this event that was all about physical excellence, social class was still a huge factor.
So after all that, the training, the risk, what did the winners actually get?
The official prize was unbelievably simple. It was just a wreath, a crown made from the branches of a sacred olive tree.
No money, no gold medal.
Nothing like that. But that wreath gave you something more valuable than money. Fame. Immense prestige for you and your entire city-state.
And that fame led to some pretty amazing unofficial rewards back home.
Oh, yeah. A champion would be treated like a hero. They'd get free meals for life, huge cash prizes from their city.
Some cities even tore down a section of their defensive walls for the champion's grand entrance.
As if to say, a city with a hero like this needs no other protection.
The games lasted for over 1,000 years, but eventually they started to change.
They did. The original idea of the citizen athlete competing purely for honor started to fade.
And professional athletes took their place.
Right, men who did nothing but train to win prizes. And with professionalism came corruption. Bribery and accusations of match-fixing became more common.
And then came the final end, in 393 AD.
The Roman Emperor Theodosius I, who was a Christian, saw the games as a pagan festival dedicated to Zeus.
A religious threat.
Exactly. So he issued a decree banning all pagan cults, and that included the Olympic Games. That 1,000-year tradition just ended.
But the spirit of it never really died. When archaeologists started excavating Olympia in the 1800s, it sparked this huge wave of interest.
And that led directly to the modern Olympic Games, which started in Athens in 1896.
You can still see the connection so clearly. Events like the discus throw are straight from the ancient games.
And the Olympic flame. It's still lit at the ruins of the Temple of Hera in Olympia, using the sun's rays. It's a direct link to the past.
The core idea of bringing people together through sport, of calling for peace, even for a short time, that's still the foundation.
I think the ancient games really give us this powerful model of a world where athletic excellence, religious devotion, and peaceful cooperation were all chased after at the same time.
The story of Olympia really does remind us that the pursuit of greatness, of honor and excellence, is a truly timeless human goal.
Good luck with your studies.